Today, we become legends.
Hey, my name's Inter, and welcome back to the channel, and Smite 2 is absolutely back. We're so back, boys. The free-to-play launch just happened last night. At least it was last night in UK time. It was probably more so like last afternoon in like US time. And the game absolutely exceeded my expectations on like how far it could go. So we got a few numbers to talk about and stuff here. So first up, the Steam charts. This is the main one, obviously. This is just the amount of people playing the game. We'll do a bit of zoom in here. So yeah, basically, as you can see, for like the last, longest time, going all the way back, but we'll just go here so that we can have the individual peaks. For the longest time during December, we were basically reaching like 15k, sorry, not 15k, 1500 players, even during peak time. And then with the launch of the open beta patch, that basically doubled. We were hitting 3k pretty consistently on a lot of these days, going up to it. And then on Monday, we had the other patch introducing Joust and Aladdin, and we hit a new high, basically at 4k players, came back down. And then, yeah, this is the free-to-play launch, obviously, as you can see here, basically a straight vertical lineup. The maximum players that we reached last night was 12,756, which is just well above where it's been for, the last 6 months, basically. I mean, how far back do we have to go to achieve player numbers like that? Basically, the entire game's history. And yeah, this chart doesn't go far back enough to even see player counts that high, but we did have them at one point. If we go over to SteamDB here, this has a little bit more data going a little bit further back. So if we get the whole thing in here, you can see basically we only had this amount of players back in like August on the initial 24/7 launch. And actually, we exceeded that ever so slightly. The peak here is 12,549, 12,836 on SteamDB that we achieved last night. I've seen a lot of people saying this is like a new all-time high for player count. Unfortunately, it is not, because if you go to Smite 2 public test on SteamDB, you can see that during the very first alpha weekend for the game, we hit 15,919. So we're technically not at a new all-time peak in terms of people playing Smite 2 at once. But, we're pretty damn close to it, and basically, this was very short-lived. It was one weekend, and then the next weekend that the game was available, we got 6k. So, we haven't technically exceeded the all-time peak, but we're incredibly close. And, compared to the last, even sort of 6 months of the game, basically being at 2k players, this is obviously absolutely incredible. I've already noticed a big improvement in matchmaking as well with this peak. And yeah, as I said, it's really exceeded my expectations. I was thinking, maybe we hit 6k, maybe we hit 8k if it really kind of pops off, but it seems like there was a lot of people waiting for the game to become free to be able to try it. It was probably a bit of a combination of people that were genuinely waiting for the game to be free. They didn't want to pay any money for it. A lot of people like that, and also a lot of people that were just waiting for the game to be free so that more people would be playing and they get better matchmaking. Because I know that's a big issue, rightfully so. If you get bad matchmaking, the game just doesn't feel good. And when you've got this many people playing the game, or this many people playing the game, it just kind of ends in bad matches a lot of the time. The matchmaker just doesn't have enough people to find you a good match. Whereas now, compared to these times, literally a couple of weeks ago, we were getting like 1,500 max players. We just hit 12,000, which is like an 8x in the player count. So matchmaking has been a lot better in my experience. And it's just super exciting to see that many people playing the game at once. That's basically, in terms of the Smite 2 regular client, that is a new all-time peak. It's just in terms of the public test client, where we had that very first alpha weekend, that technically did have more players. Although I won't be surprised if we exceeded that number on the weekend, because this was just a random Wednesday. Oh, actually, no, it was Tuesday. That was going into Wednesday morning. So this was just a random Tuesday, basically. Whereas if you go back to like a lot of these times back here, if we just find a random Tuesday here, we hit like 12,700. And if we go to the weekend on that day, you can see that Friday achieved like 1,300. Saturday achieved 1,400, so generally you achieve, a little bit more players on the weekend. Even on the Sunday, we got almost 1,500. Actually, we got 1,500 on the Sunday. So you can see that more and more people play the game on the weekend compared to playing on the weekday. So I think it's definitely possible that we hit 15k players on the weekend, especially with the hype building. This was just regular old Smite 2, where like, maybe 10 to 20% more players on the weekend. Whereas, this is going to be like, probably a lot of people will have their first time playing the game on the weekend if, they're very busy people. They don't really like to play too much on the week. And, it doesn't even necessarily have to be people that have never played during the week and only going to play on the weekend. It's just people will play more on the weekend. And if people play, 4-hour sessions on the weekend instead of 2-hour sessions on a weekday, that concurrent number will go higher because people are playing for longer. So yeah, I do think we could probably achieve a new all-time peak on the weekend. Absolutely. I think we could hit above 16k players, which is basically the peak from the Smite 2 public test client. You can see here. Oh, wrong chart. You can see here on the public test client, it was like 15,919. So if we break 16k players, it's a completely new all-time peak for the game, and I think that's definitely possible. If we look at the troughs as well, you can see that we basically came down. We've bottomed out for the day. Usually bottoms out around 10 a.m. GMT. That would be like, I don't know, 4 a.m. In America, 4 a.m. in most of America, like 3 to 5 a.m. So you can see we've already bottomed out. We're already coming up in players. You know, that's a 200 increase there. So basically we've already bottomed out for the day at 3,200 players, which was basically, you know, the peaks we were kind of setting over here after the patch before free to play is now our bottom, which is very exciting. Yeah, whereas the bottoms during this time were like 900-ish. We're now hitting like, you know, 3K. So even the bottom is like almost 3 to 4 times the larger amount of players. And obviously back here, you know, we're bottoming at like, you know, 300 players or something. So it's a big increase over that. So yeah, we're not just immediately losing all the players by the seams of it. You know, we bottomed out around 3,200 and now we're going back up for the day. We'll see what today brings. I'm going to be streaming later if you want to come check it out on Twitch. I'll leave a link to that down below. Probably not as this video goes out, but a few hours after this video goes out, I'll be live with some more Smite 2 ranked grinding. We're trying to get up in the ranks super early, so definitely come check out the Twitch. But yeah, we'll see how today goes, you know, whether we set a new peak or not. Honestly, I don't expect us to. I don't think on, you know, another random weekday we'll probably set a higher peak than when the game launched on free to play. Usually launch days are going to be the biggest for a while. But I think on the weekend we can absolutely exceed this peak. I think we will exceed this peak, and we might even, you know, go higher than the all-time high at like 15k players. Checking in on Smite 1 as well. Smite 1 obviously has had a dip in players over the launch period. So this was Monday. This was kind of like the day before free to play, but it's also when Joust launched and when Aladdin launched. So a big patch came, and definitely the peak has been basically diminishing since around Saturday on Smite 1. On Saturday we hit basically 6k players, and by the time free to play launched in Smite 2 we're hitting like 3.7k. So there's still a decent amount of people playing Smite 1, you know, people that want to play their favorite gods or on old gen consoles or whatever, but it seems like a decent amount of people have moved over. But of course, the drop here is you know, nowhere near entirely fueling the rise of Smite 2. You know, basically it's gone down from like 6k to about 3.7k. It's gone down about 2.3k concurrent players. Smite 2's gone up by like 10k. So definitely it's not only people that were actively playing Smite 1 that have come over to Smite 2. It's, you know, people that weren't actively playing Smite 1 but were maybe still following the scene and have come in, or it's brand new players entirely. We can't really get data on, you know, if it is entirely brand new players, but some will be for sure. And some people, I imagine it's just people that follow, you know, follow the game on YouTube, on Twitch, like following Smite posts and stuff like that from high res, but they weren't really actively playing either game because Smite 1's kind of dead in terms of updates and Smite 2 wasn't really there yet, so they were just waiting for free to play. So yeah, it's promising to see that, you know, it's not only being fueled by existing Smite 1 players. You know, we're getting some new people in there that weren't playing either of the games, because Smite 1's still retaining a decent amount of players. It's obviously down quite a bit, and you know, obviously if you look at the long-term trend, you know, it doesn't look too pretty in terms of Smite. You know, we peaked back in COVID in 31k, now we're down like essentially about 4k is what we're getting now. But obviously the game is dying. It's literally actively being replaced, so it's understandable that those player counts will be way down. It's just, you know, can Smite 2 get up to these kind of peaks that we were getting, you know, around like 20k players kind of area? And yeah, that remains to be seen. You know, we've had basically this really big patch. There's probably not going to be a massive amount of stuff coming to the game super soon. They'll obviously keep updating it with big patches and stuff, but I imagine the next time we get a really big patch will be like the launch of the game, probably in January next year, I would imagine. They'll probably do like a big season 1 patch and do the launch of the game, kind of like they did with Smite 1. So that will be really good for the game as well. But yeah, I think this weekend we'll also probably achieve a new high in player count. And just in general, even if we don't, you know, go back to like 20k players consistently, Smite 1 like peak days, even just the game being, you know, consistently at like 8k player average or something, which is probably about what it'll be when, you know, it peaks out this much and bottoms out this much. It'll be about, you know, 7 to 8k average. Even just with that, that's going to be so much better than what we were averaging around here, which is basically like 1,000 players. You know, it's like 8 times that amount. The matchmaking is just going to be so much better, and there's going to be a lot more interest in the game. We can take a look at Twitch as well. We've got some Twitch stats. So we haven't exceeded any kind of major peaks on Twitch in terms of viewership. Back in the initial alpha weekend launch, we had 40k viewers on Twitch with 600 channels streaming. Back in the 24/7 launch during August, we had 20k viewers with 400 channels streaming. We have seen a solid uptick recently, though. You know, it was kind of down at these lows for a long time, and then we had a bit of a peak on January 9th with 8,000 viewers, 88 channels. I believe that was when Christy Dixon was front paging the game and had like 4k viewers, so about half of those viewers are coming from front page, which isn't really real viewers. It's still nice, it still brings some eyeballs to the game and stuff like that, but it's not organic people being interested in the game. A lot of that is just people have the front page open and it's just loading the stream. But then again, we've seen an even higher peak here on the free-to-play launch day, about 10k players with 238 channel streaming, which is definitely a larger, you know, amount of individual channel streaming, which is much more healthy. You know, it's not just one channel kind of carrying like half the viewers. I do believe Weekend was front paging here and he got about 3,000 2,000, so that is still a substantial amount of the viewers, but regardless, that's like more channels, more unique people streaming the game, which is definitely good to see. It's more healthy than just like one channel or two channels holding like all of the viewers. So Smite Twitch on the up and up, but not exceeding any like major highs for the game or anything like that. But yeah, I think that's where I'll leave this video off. Just wanted to do a quick health check. I know everyone's excited about free-to-play, just kind of dispel the myth that we're a new all-time high, because I've seen a lot of people, even people from high res, saying that we're a new all-time high in player count. We're not, if you include the public test days for the first alpha weekend, which I think you should include. The game was playable. So we're not quite a new all-time high, but it's still incredibly exciting. We're at a new local high for sure. You know, the biggest high of 24/7 as well, you know, only exceeded by the first time people ever got to play the game when the hype was at its maximum. So yeah, absolutely not trying to downplay anything here, but it's not a new all-time high or anything. Super exciting though. What do you guys think? Are you excited for the free-to-play launch? Excited for more players, better matchmaking? Excited for the future of the game? I absolutely am. Let me know down below, and I'll catch you guys for another one later on. Have a great day, and peace out, you nerds.